What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that is the literal definition of no good deed goes unpunished. Imagine this. You're 29, you've worked your tail off to buy your own home, and you're doing well. Then, your mom falls on hard times, and because you're a good son, you open your doors to her. But then, she brings home a boyfriend. And that boyfriend? He doesn't just bring his luggage. He brings a set of rules for a house he doesn't pay a dime for. This story was posted to Reddit recently, and it blew up. It's a wild ride through boundaries, entitlement, and a confrontation that was months in the making. Let's get into it. Hey, Househe. I'm posting this from a throwaway account because a few people involved in this mess know my main, and honestly, I'd rather not deal with the notification blow-up on my actual profile. I'm a 29-year-old guy. For the last few years, I've been living the dream, or at least my version of it. I work in tech, the pay is great, and I managed to buy a solid house with 3 bedrooms and a nice backyard. It was my sanctuary, but life has a way of throwing a wrench in your gears when things are going too smoothly. About 2 years ago, my mom, who is 53, hit a massive rough patch. She lost her house. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of why, but it wasn't a great situation. Now, she's my mom. I love her. So, it was a no-brainer. I told her, "Mom, come stay with me. It's temporary, just until you get back on your feet." At first, it was great. I make enough to cover all the bills, so she didn't have to worry about rent or groceries. It was supposed to be a reset button for her. But as the months crawled by, temporary started looking a lot like permanent. Fast forward to about a year ago. Mom starts dating again. She meets this guy. Let's call him R. He's 47, divorced, and at first glance, he seemed like a decent enough guy. They hit off fast. By the 6-month mark, they were serious. Then the world turned upside down. The pandemic hit, lockdowns were looming, and suddenly everyone was scrambling. I was having a hard time. He was a divorced dad with 2 kids, a 14-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy, and his living situation was getting complicated just as his lease was ending. One night, over dinner, my mom drops the bombshell. Asterisk. What if R and the kids bunked here with us? Just until the global mess is sorted out. Asterisk. I hesitated. But looking at my mom, I saw how much she wanted this. I figured, hey, the world is ending anyway, why not help out? I met her a few times. He wasn't a jerk, and the kids were polite. I have 3 bedrooms. I take the master, Mom has her room, and R and the kids could take the 3rd. We make it work. I thought I was being a hero. In reality, I was opening the door to a slow-motion takeover of my own life. The first few weeks were actually okay. R's kids were shy and kept to themselves. We had movie nights, shared meals, and R even tried to pull his weight. He'd fix a leaky faucet or cook his famous chili. He seemed grateful. We sat down early on and set the ground rules. This is my house. I'm not a dictator, but I like order. We agreed on quiet hours, shared chores, and personal space. R nodded along, even adding his own rules for his kids. I respected that. A dad's got a parent, right? But then, the slow flood started. It started small. Microaggressions, really. R started rearranging the furniture in the living room without asking. I come home from work, and the sofa would be 3 feet to the left because it flowed better. He'd leave his tools scattered across the kitchen island for days after fixing something. Then there was the TV. I'm a bit of a tech nerd. I spent a lot of money on a top-of-the-line Ultra HD setup. It's my pride and joy. Suddenly, I couldn't use it. R would commandeer the remote for hours, channel surfing or barking at his kids about what they could and couldn't watch. I felt a twinge of annoyance, but I looked at my mom. She was glowing. She was happy. So I bit my tongue. I told myself I was being petty. It's just a TV, let it go. But I wasn't done. My garage is my sanctuary. I'm a car guy. It's where I go to breathe. One Saturday, I walk in to find R completely rearranging my workbench. "Just making some space," he said, not even looking up. I felt my blood pressure spike. Asterisk, I appreciate the thought, R, but I have a system here. Please don't move my tools. Asterisk, he gave me this dismissive shrug. Asterisk, sure thing, but it'd help if things were actually organized. Asterisk, that comment stayed with me. He wasn't a guest anymore. He was a consultant. And he didn't think I was running my own house correctly. By month 3, the mask was off. I started treating the house like a barracks. One morning, I found a chores schedule taped to the fridge. It wasn't just for the kids. My name was on there. Asterisk, bathroom deep clean, Tuesday. Asterisk, I stared at it. I pay the mortgage. I pay for the water. I pay for the electricity. And now I'm being assigned chores by the guy living here for free? He started setting house-wide quiet hours. He told me I couldn't watch TV past 10 p.m. because it disturbed the household sleeping schedule. My office, the room where I actually earn the money that keeps us all fed, became his next target. He knocked on my door one afternoon while I was in the middle of a coding sprint. "Hey, I've been thinking," he said. Asterisk, this office would make a great study room for the kids during the day. You could just work in the living room, right? Asterisk, I stared at him. I literally couldn't believe the audacity. Asterisk, I need this room for my job. The job that pays for the roof over your head. Asterisk, he looked offended. He actually looked hurt that I said no. He muttered something about family cooperation and walked away. I went to my mom. I told her it was overstepping. I told her I was starting to feel like a guest in my own home. Her response? Asterisk, he's just trying to help, honey. He's so good with the kids. Isn't that what matters? Asterisk, it was like she was under a spell. She couldn't see, or wouldn't see, that her boyfriend was slowly evicting me from my own life. All right, guys, this is where things go from annoying roommate to absolute chaos. The tension had been building for months, like a pressure cooker, and it finally exploded over the most ridiculous thing you can imagine, a midnight run. It was a Thursday. I've been stuck in Zoom meetings all day, and I was vibrating with stress. Around 11 p.m., I decided to go for a run. It's how I decompress. The streets are empty, it's cool out, and I can just think. I got back around midnight. I was careful. I unlocked the door softly, slipped off my shoes, and crept up the stairs. I didn't turn on any lights. I went straight to my room and crashed. The next morning, I walked downstairs thinking about nothing but coffee. I didn't even make it to the pot. The living room door flew open. Art stood there, his face the color of a ripe tomato. Asterisk in here. Now, asterisk, he barked. I was stunned. I thought maybe someone was hurt. I stepped into the room, and he slammed the door behind me. Asterisk, how dare you? Asterisk, he hissed. Asterisk, coming in at midnight, slamming doors, stomping around like you own the place? You woke the kids. Asterisk, I just blinked at him. Asterisk, I didn't slam any doors, R. I was quiet. And for the record, I do own the place. Asterisk, that was the spark. R stepped into my personal space, his finger inches from my nose. Asterisk, in this house, midnight is unacceptable. You will respect the rules while you are under this roof. Asterisk, while I'm under this roof. Something snapped. All the months of suppressed anger, the chores on the fridge, the tools in the garage, the study room comments, it all came rushing up. I stepped forward until we were chest to chest. I'm younger, I'm faster, and right now, I'm a lot angrier. Listen to me very carefully, I said, my voice shaking with rage. Asterisk, I don't know who you think you are, but you don't make rules for me. Not in my house. I am not one of your kids, and you are definitely not my father. You are my mom's boyfriend, and as of right now, you're a guest who has overstayed his welcome. Asterisk, the silence that followed was deafening. R's mouth hung open. He looked like I just slapped him. I'm trying to run a respectful house here, he started, but I cut him off. Asterisk, respectful? You think it's respectful to yell at me in the house I pay for? You think it's respectful to try and take over my office? Get out. I want you out today. Asterisk, can you imagine the stones on this guy? Telling the homeowner they have a curfew? But wait, it gets worse. Because now, the mom gets involved, and this is where the family drama really kicks in. Moving right along, we are picking up the story immediately after the I want you out today bombshell. This next section focuses on the heavy tension of the Cold War phase and the emotional fallout with the mom. So, the words were out there. Get out. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? But when you're dealing with someone as entitled as R, they don't just pack a bag and leave. They dig their heels in. And the worst part? They use the people you love as a human shield. The moment I told R to leave, the air in the room changed. It went from a shouting match to something much colder. R didn't move. He just stared at me, his eyes darting toward the hallway. And that's when I heard it, the soft pad of footsteps. My mom was standing there. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 5 minutes. I immediately pivoted. He didn't look at me anymore. He looked at her. His voice did this weird thing. It went from aggressive to wounded victim in a split second. "I'm just trying to provide some structure, honey," he told her, his voice trembling. Asterisk. I didn't think I'd be treated like a criminal for caring about the kids' sleep. Asterisk. I couldn't believe it. The gaslighting was top tier. I turned to my mom. Asterisk. Mom, he's not providing structure. He's trying to run my life in my own house. I'm done. He needs to find a place. Asterisk. Mom didn't look at me. She looked at the floor. "Maybe we should all just sit down and talk," she whispered. "No," I said. Asterisk. We're past talking. I've been talking for months. I've been dropping hints. I've been being accommodating. And all it got me was a guy yelling in my face because I went for a run at 11 p.m. He goes, "Today." Asterisk. Or didn't leave that day. He played the "I have nowhere to take the kids" card, and my mom begged me to give him time. Because I'm not a monster and I didn't want the kids on the street, I gave him a deadline. But those next few days, they were pure hell. The house became a silent zone, or avoided me like I had the plague. If I walked into the kitchen, he'd walk out. If I sat in the living room, he'd usher his kids upstairs like I was some kind of dangerous intruder. He was playing the evil landlord trope to the max, making his kids feel like they were being kicked out by a villain. But the part that actually hurt? My mom. She stopped talking to me. The woman I'd let move into my house, the woman I'd supported and cared for, was now giving me the cold shoulder. She wouldn't look at me during dinner. She'd answer in one-word sentences. One night, I caught her in the kitchen. Asterisk. Mom, are you seriously mad at me? He was the one who crossed the line. Asterisk. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were red. "You didn't have to be so cruel," she said. Asterisk. He was just trying to help in his own way. We were a family, and you just broke that. I felt like I'd been punched. Asterisk. We weren't a family, Mom. We were a guy and his kids living off my hard work while he tried to tell me when I could watch my own TV. How do you not see that? Asterisk. She just shook her head and walked away. That's the thing about manipulation. It doesn't just affect the person being controlled. It creates a fog that everyone else gets lost in, too. About 3 days into the Cold War, the reality of the situation started to set in for R. I think he realized that I wasn't backing down. I wasn't going to apologize. I'd already looked up the local eviction laws, just in case, but I knew he didn't have a legal leg to stand on. He wasn't on a lease, and he hadn't paid a cent. I came downstairs on Sunday morning to find him sitting at the kitchen table. He looked haggard. For the first time, he didn't have that alpha male energy. "I found a place," he said, not looking up from his coffee. Asterisk. It's small. It's an apartment across town. We'll be out by Tuesday. Asterisk. I didn't feel the triumph I thought I would. I just felt tired. "Okay," I said. Asterisk. If you need help with the heavy stuff, I can lend a hand. But this is for the best, R. Asterisk. He didn't say anything. He just stood up and started packing a box. Tuesday came, and it was as awkward as you'd imagine. It wasn't a movie ending. There were no big apologies. It was just box after box being loaded into a rental van. The kids were the hardest part. They were 14 and 12. They didn't understand the power dynamics or the boundary issues. They just knew they were moving again. They hugged my mom, and I saw her crying. I felt a massive pang of guilt, but then I remembered the feeling of being trapped in my own bedroom, and I knew I had to hold the line. When the last box was in, R turned to me. He held out his hand. I don't know if it was a peace offering or just a thanks for the free rent gesture, but I shook it. "Good luck, R," I said. He nodded, got into the van, and drove away. And just like that, my house was mine again. But it didn't feel like a home yet. It felt like a crime scene. So the guy's gone. The kids are gone. The tools are back in their proper places. But the story isn't over. Because now, the narrator has to deal with the person left behind, his mom. And guys, this part of the story, it's a lesson in how to heal after a toxic situation. The first few days after I left were eerily quiet. The house felt too big. There was no one channel surfing on my TV, no one leaving tools on my counter. But there was also no laughter from the kids. My mom was a ghost. She stayed in her room mostly, only coming out to eat when she thought I wasn't around. I realized then that I wasn't just a boyfriend to her. He was a symbol of her new life. To her, him leaving felt like she'd failed at starting over. I decided to be the one to bridge the gap. I went to the store and bought everything for her favorite meal. I spent the afternoon cooking, making the house smell like home again. When she finally came out, I had the table set. Asterisk, Mom, sit down. Let's just eat. No talking about R. No talking about the house. Just dinner. Asterisk. We ate in silence for 10 minutes. Then, slowly, she started to talk. Not about the drama, but about a project she wanted to do in the garden. Then about a book she was reading. It took weeks. It didn't happen overnight. But slowly, the mom I knew started to come back. One evening, we were sitting on the back porch. The sun was setting, and for the first time in a year, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to tell me I was being too loud. Mom turned to me and took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," she said. I looked at her, surprised. "I was so desperate for things to be normal again," she continued, asterisk, "that I let myself believe or was the answer. I ignored how he was treating you because I wanted to believe I had a family again. I forgot that you and we're already a family, and this is your home. I should have protected that." Asterisk, I reached over and squeezed her hand. Asterisk, "I just wanted you to be happy, Mom, but I couldn't lose myself to make that happen." Asterisk, she nodded, tears in her eyes. Asterisk, "I know, and I'm going to therapy. I've already made the appointment. I need to figure out why I let men like that in." Asterisk, as the weeks went on, I learned a bit more about why I was the way he was. It turns out his controlling nature wasn't new. I found out through some mutual acquaintances that his previous relationship had ended for the exact same reasons. He had a pattern of moving into women's lives and trying to become the king of the castle to overcompensate for his own insecurities. I also learned a bit more about my own family history. My dad, who passed away years ago, had been controlling in his own way. Mom had spent her whole life around men who told her what to do. No wonder she thought I was normal, but she's learning. We both are. And that, guys, is the story. It's been a few months now. The narrator and his mom are doing great. The house is peaceful. Or is someone else's problem now. This story really makes you think about boundaries. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to let them walk all over you, especially in your own home. But I want to hear from you. What would you have done? Would you have kicked her out sooner? Or would you have tried to make it work for your mom's sake? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Reddit deep dives. Until next time, stay safe and watch out for those red flags. Peace.